A cold morning in East Jerusalem. The nuns of the Russian Orthodox monastery at the top of the Mount of Olives are heading for the dining room. From the tallest bell tower in Jerusalem, known as the Russian Candle, Sister Natalia calls the nuns to their morning mass. A few kilometers away, in the western part of Jerusalem, Sister Vera rings the bells at the Russian Orthodox Gorny Monastery. The two Russian Orthodox nuns ring their bells to the same tune and pray the same prayers in the same language, Russian. And yet, they are divided by more than a few Jerusalem hills. They are divided by a fierce, 70-year-old conflict. The Communist Revolution brought about 7 decades of repressive state atheism. The clergy who escaped the communist persecutions created the Russian Orthodox Church in exile, the White Church. In the Soviet Union, what was left of the once powerful Orthodox Church came under state domination and became known as the Red Church. The split in the once united Russian Orthodox Church has never been resolved. In Jerusalem, the dispute takes on special overtones. In the heart of Jerusalem, on a plot of land known as the Russian Compound, stands the 19th century Russian Orthodox Church, a symbol of old Russia. Next door to it, the Moscow Orthodox Church Mission in the Holy Land. The Soviet Union and Israel have no diplomatic relations. Ironically, the world's largest atheist country is represented in the Jewish state by a religious mission. A special mass at the Red Russian Church to mark the name day of Pimen, the Patriarch of Moscow. Representatives of all Christian churches in Jerusalem attend the celebrations. The message is clear. The Red Church is recognized as the only representative of Russian Orthodoxy. The sounds of the special prayer do not reach the White Monastery on the Mount of Olives. Before the creation of the State of Israel, only the Russian Orthodox Church in exile, the White Church, existed in the Holy Land. In 1948, the newly born State of Israel handed over all of the White Church property within its boundaries to the Moscow Patriarchate. It was an expression of gratitude to the Soviet Union for supporting a Jewish state, and a well-calculated political move. The clergy of the White Church fled and found refuge in the Kingdom of Jordan. Following the Six-Day War in 1967, Jerusalem was reunited, and the old rivals found themselves under Israel's rule, the Red Church backed by Moscow. And this White Church, still living by values a century old, still cherishing the great Tsar of Russia as its protector and savior. The white archpriest, Father Vladimir, and his nuns behave as if the clock had stopped in 1917.
In our church, things have not changed in all the centuries of its existence. The priest is still given this robe, which dates back to the Tsar's times. Everything here was made in old Russia, and that is why it is so precious to us. Everything Russian is very precious to us.
Nothing here is meaningless. Everything has its own history. We have, of course, a picture of the Holy Tsar's family. This is not merely history. For us, it is also the present and the future.
God only knows what the future holds. At present, Archimandrite Pavel, the head of the Red Russian Orthodox mission in Jerusalem, waits to greet the guests arriving for the official church reception. A special welcome is reserved for Comrade Plikhin, the head of the newly established Soviet diplomatic group in Israel. The first sign of Gorbachev's perestroika towards Israel. Soviet United Nations observers and Soviet officials freely meet with the clergy. Until recently, such open contact were unheard of. Perestroika in Jerusalem.
For us, it is a holiday. We are very pleased to meet Russians here in Jerusalem. It's nice, because we have common roots which tie us to one another. Russia. Perhaps a common religion too? If the kindness flowing here is religion, well, then we have a common religion. We are not a religious people, but we are not allowed to be interviewed. It is forbidden. We are here for the first time in 20 years. Before we came, there had been no official group.
Presumably, Soviet clergymen have been handling certain political and official functions.
Now you can imagine how important this mission was. The mission was the representative of the Moscow Patriarchate. And where is it situated? In Moscow. But there is another Russian Orthodox Church here. Do you have any ties with them? They do not wish to have any ties with us, and we of course do not recognize them, just as they do not recognize the Moscow Patriarch. About the relations between both churches, ask the priests. But they broke away from us, not vice versa. So we are ready to accept them, but on one condition. They must repent. They must repent before the Russian church. Repent that they betrayed their Russian flocks. That's what happened during the revolution. The flock remained in Russia. The pastors ran away. But we know that priests were murdered in Russia. Murdered? So what? There are still pastors in Russia. The church was not left without pastors. But it's frightening to be murdered. Why? Not for a Christian. For a Christian, not at all. We cannot forget the past. For 70 years, we have not forgotten that thousands and thousands and thousands of people were murdered for their beliefs. It is easy to state it here, openly and freely. But unfortunately, the Moscow Patriarch denies it. It is the main reason we cannot be united.
But the conflict in the Holy Land is not purely ideological. Huge assets acquired by the Russian Church in the Holy Land are being claimed by both sides. For the sake of Zion I shall not be silent, and for the sake of Jerusalem I shall not rest. Many buildings in Jerusalem bear Russian inscriptions. A signpost in the very heart of Jerusalem. In the 19th century, Jerusalem was overwhelmed by a massive wave of Russian pilgrims. 11 churches and 7 monasteries were built. The pilgrims enjoyed the services and facilities of a hostel for affluent pilgrims. A hospital, which today houses Israel's Ministry of Agriculture. Near the cathedral, the Women's Hostel, now housing Israel's Museum of Heroism. The Jerusalem Police Headquarters once served as a hostel for men. Most of the Russian church properties are located on prime land, and their value is enormous. Paradoxically, even the seat of Israel's Supreme Court is located in a building owned by the Red Russian Church.
In this building, as you see, on the one side is the Supreme Court of the State of Israel today. That's where we are standing right now. But you see from the window, the other part of the building is where the Red Russian Church Mission has its headquarters. And of course, the State of Israel, until this very day, pays the rent to the Russian Church Mission for the part of the building which it uses.
In the courthouse, rented from the Red Church, the State of Israel has been facing a long and complicated lawsuit. Clea Albeck, a state attorney, has been representing the state in a lawsuit brought by the White Church to reclaim the huge Russian church assets.
Each thinks he is the only true heir of the Russian church, which was one church in the 19th century. And each of them thinks that they, and only they, are those who are the true Russian church today, and therefore the true heir of everything which belonged to the Russian church in the 19th century.
No such dispute was possible before the revolution, in the days when over 30,000 pilgrims came to Jerusalem every holiday. A rare festive occasion at the only Red Russian monastery in Jerusalem. For the first time in decades, a group of pilgrims headed by Kashir's Bishop Theophan came to the Holy Land for Christmas. 12 pilgrims from a country of 200 million people. Excited, the nuns anxiously await the special prayers held for the pilgrims.
Конечно, когда у нас паломники, то особый звон. Мы стараемся торжественно, чтобы...
We ring a special tune to please our guests and for all of us to celebrate the holiday.
Чтобы и сестрам было, и праздник прошел прекрасно.
The Red Russian Church has no following in the Holy Land. Its ceremonies look like part of a surrealistic play. The stage and actors are there, but no audience.
We never had pilgrims for Christmas. This year they came, and it's good. All of them, all the pilgrims are priests. Who would you like to see coming? Everyone. It should be open for all the pilgrims. Was it open in the past? Only for important priests. But before the revolution, you know how many people used to come.
At the Red Russian Gorny Monastery, 48 nuns live a secluded, primitive life, all Soviet citizens, sent here from the Soviet Union. Here in the center of Jerusalem, daily life resembles a remote Russian village of the 19th century. There is no running water in the monastery, and all the work, light and heavy, is done by the women.
We have a big reservoir, and we use the rainwater which gathers in it. To this day, there is no running water.
Despite the hardship and the daily chores, the nuns show the prescribed Russian optimism.
You all saw us. What do we look like? Some plump, some skinny. Anyone who sees us can judge for himself. Just look at what we wear, at our clothes, at the shoes we have. You saw us in the dining room. There's nothing to complain about. Nice kitty, nice kitty. She's afraid of men because there are only nuns in our monastery. Do you do all the men's work yourselves? Why not? We have become real jacks of all trades. What do we need men for? Men have their lives, women the earth. Dig it up well, there's a porcupine around. If you don't dig well, we'll have worms. That's quite a root, but we still got it out. You've got less strength than a fly. Anyway, you see, we just know what we need to know. And what we don't know, we don't need to know. For instance, we don't care to learn Hebrew. We only care for things needed in everyday life. That's the way we are. We don't want to know much. We don't need to. Our life is different.
They lead a closed and segregated existence, echoing the Soviet way of life. Complete isolation from strangers. There is not a single locally born nun in this monastery. The gates are closed to the local Orthodox population. In Bethany, on the outskirts of Jerusalem, the White Russian Church maintains a school for Arab girls, run for some 50 years by Sister Sophia. In the heart of this Arab village, the sound of Russian rings out as an exotic oddity.
It's very difficult for them. It's just the beginning. I studied at this school too.
At the Bethany school, the children come into contact with the Russian language of a bygone era. It is in this language that Sister Sophia speaks of her beliefs.
If you are interested in hearing what I believe in, and the Father will give his blessing, I will say it in a hymn dedicated to Martha and Mary. Dear Lord, give me hands to work with charity and love. In this life, one must hasten to help all who are needy. We should open our arms to those knocking on our doors, asking for help.
Young Arab girls dance round a Christmas tree, singing in Russian. They dance and sing just as girls do in faraway Russia, but there is a slight difference. Children in Russia do not know that this tree is part of a Christmas celebration.
Look at what we are doing here. Arab girls know how to bless themselves, and they celebrate Christmas by the tree. This is something which is impossible in Russia. Gorbachev visited England a while ago. While he discussed high politics, his wife visited an English school where the children, dressed in white like angels, danced around a tree, just as our children do. And no one asked her, "Can you celebrate in Russia like this?" What could her reply have been? These celebrations are forbidden in Russia. In other words, the freedom we speak of is still far away.
And how does the Red Russian Church celebrate Christmas in Jerusalem? By attending the reception at the house of the President of Israel.
Peace on earth, in the Middle East, and in Jerusalem.
How was the trip?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
Great.
First of all, I would like to explain to you that Metropolitan Florida sent to you the best regards, and maybe in May or in June you must come to our country.
Welcome home. Welcome. Welcome.
At this annual event, the President welcomes representatives of all Christian denominations, except the White Russian Church. The Soviet priests enjoy the singing of an Israeli choir. In his speech, the President, Chaim Herzog, stresses Israel's commitment to the freedom, security, and equality of all religions in the holiest of cities, Jerusalem.
Freedom of religion and conscience, of language, education, and culture. It will safeguard the holy places of all religions.
It seems that in spite of missing diplomatic relations, a special and warm atmosphere exists between the Soviet priests and the Israeli officials.
Насколько мне известно, сам президент Герцог и вообще...
As far as I know, neither President Herzog nor the Israeli government objects in principle to inviting us to the reception. We would have been well received there, but on the request of the Moscow Patriarchate, we are not invited. All those who escaped from Russia after the revolution are suspicious and scorn us to this day. Unfortunately, they see us as active communists. Our church always enjoyed full freedom in the Holy Land. We were recognized as the Russian Orthodox Church. But since the new Patriarchate was established in Moscow, and because of various political considerations, we are being completely ignored.
The monastery on the Mount of Olives was built by the Tsar's family in 1903. Half its nuns today are Arab. Others are the daughters of the generation which, together with the fallen Tsar, were dispersed to oblivion.
Russian emigres all over the world appreciate our prayers in the Holy Land. They are grateful and send us donations to run the monastery. We are not involved in politics. We know nothing about it. It's too complicated for us, and we have no wish to deal with it at all.
И направлялся в монастырь, находящийся на расстоянии 20 стадий.
Traditionally, paints for Russian icons were based on egg yolks. This is how the White Russian nuns paint to this day. Sale of the icons adds to the monastery's modest income. Sacred images in support of daily existence.
No, we are not of this world, as if we were between heaven and earth, and we are trying to get away from this world.
They are on their way to the city of Nazareth, not to visit some clergyman, but to meet the local communist leadership. The meeting takes place at the Soviet Friendship Society Hall, which stands on land donated by the Red Church to the Communist Party, the party which has silenced the church bells in Russia. Perhaps in the Middle East, the communists play a different tune.
We are happy to visit this house because it is part of the Orthodox Church. We are in close contact with the mission in Jerusalem on issues like the management of this land. But our relations are not only business. We are in full understanding on the principles for which this house stands. For this visit and the fact that it happens now carries a certain importance. The escalating struggle in the Middle East for the rights of the Arab Palestinians, the situation in the occupied territories, and in the Holy Land, on these issues we share the same views. We would like you to come to the Soviet Union. And when you do, come and see us.
Should Comrade Diab accept the invitation to visit Moscow, he may fail to recognize his visitors. Even though the church in Russia is slowly resurfacing, a clerical robe is still a rare sight in a Moscow street. Holy icons, the nuns at the Red Gorny Monastery believe, better than any man-made fence, will protect them against evil people and evil spirits. Of the present spirit in the Soviet Union, they say,
what do the nuns in Russia wear outside of their monastery? We never dressed like this. We would wear a regular dress and a headscarf. Here we walk freely through the big city wearing our nuns' habits. I was on holiday in Moscow a while ago. I went out of the hotel in my nun's habit for a little. Near the hotel, I tried. A year ago, I visited the village of Pechora. There you can wear the nun's habit because there's a monastery in the village. But in other places, I didn't dare. We don't read newspapers, but we've heard that now that we have Gorbachev, the attitude towards religion seems to be getting better.
A Moscow archpriest receiving baptism in the Holy Jordan River is a sign of new attitudes.
Услышим святого Евангелия и Духове Твоему, От Марка Святаго Евангелия чтение. Слава тебе, Господи, слава.
Today, 12 pilgrims are renewing this famous Russian Orthodox tradition. 80 years ago, 1,000 Russian pilgrims would enter together the holy waters.
И обе восходят воды, видя разводящиеся небеса, и дух его голубь сходящий нань, и глаз бы с небесе. Ты си сын мой возлюбленный, о нем же благоволи. Слава тебе, Господи, слава.
Like all other tourists, the pilgrims will take back Israeli souvenirs. On one postcard, religion and Israel, two subjects formerly taboo in Russia. The Russian priests enjoy a rare opportunity to meet freely with other tourists.
Is it possible for us as Christians to join your religious ceremony? Why not? Why not? You feel the glasnost? Yes, we feel it like the rest of the world. What do you feel? Is it only a show or is it for real? It's a reality and we feel it very strongly. What is Gorbachev's faith? He's an atheist, but he was baptized. He will never admit it openly.
Eine Bekennung ablegen. Vielen Dank. Gute Reise noch.
The pilgrims from Moscow enjoy their tour of the Holy Land's religious sites and feel free to express their joy.
All my life I dreamt of coming to the Holy Land. I never expected the dream to come true. It was very difficult to be selected for this group. As you have seen, the groups are small and rare. Obviously, we would like to have other people, not only priests, to come. In our group, there is only one layman, and even he is a lecturer at the Theological Academy. Well, but in the meantime, the chances are very slim. Of course, it makes me very sad. So many people want to come to the Holy Land. But what can you do? In the past, there were many possibilities. Thousands could make the pilgrimage to the Holy Land from Russia. And now, not only are there few pilgrims, but even they need special permission. In the past, they just bought tickets and came. But today...
The lucky ones to be allowed a pilgrimage to the Holy Land enjoy a special bonus. A short vacation on a beautiful strip of beach with gardens, orchards, and a chapel along the Sea of Galilee, which belongs to the Moscow Patriarchate. The idyllic atmosphere seems to have been preserved from the times of Jesus.
Is this how it was or not? I keep asking myself whether it was like this or not. It's a wonderful place, a real heaven on earth.
The same story of land ownership surrounds this idyllic spot. After the Russian Revolution, the property remained in the hands of the White Church. In 1948, the Israeli government handed it over gratis to the Red Church.
I have nothing to say about it, just that we are very sorry about the existing situation. We hope things will change for the better in the future. But unfortunately, till now we have faced the unwillingness of the church in exile. In my opinion, it's all because of political reasons which influence the people of the church in exile.
Political reasons are not the only ones. The plot of land on the Sea of Galilee is probably one of the most valuable in the world.
All the properties we had within the borders of Israel were taken away from us. But that happened a long time ago, and there is no point in bringing it up again now. The matter is closed. It belongs to the past, and we respect the status quo that has been created. I don't think we should talk about it.
The Soviet pilgrims are trying to visit the Orthodox Church at Cana of Galilee. The gates are locked. No one awaits them. Through all these years, the Red Russian Church made no effort to maintain its following in the Holy Land.
First miracle church. Первого чуда.
Twice a day, the Arab girls of the White Church's school in Bethany go to the caved church in the school's yard. They pray in Russian for the soul of the Tsar, deposed and murdered some 70 years ago. One wonders how praying for the Tsar in Russian will help these Arab girls in our modern world.
I teach them the 4 basic rules of human behavior. First, do not beat thy neighbor. The soil here is very dry, and there are lots of small stones, and they throw the stones in each other's eyes. Do not steal. Do not lie. And if despite everything you have committed one of those sins, say, "Forgive me. I will try not to do it again."
The Russian Orthodox population today is a mere 2% of all the Christians in Jerusalem. The school in Bethany is the last remaining of 25 schools established by the church before the revolution.
We must believe that there will be a revival of religion in Russia. How and when? I have no idea. Unfortunately, the Moscow Patriarch is still obeying the orders of the Communist Party, and to this we can never agree. Never.
New, unusual orders are coming today from the Communist Party. Festive celebrations marking 1,000 years of Russian Christianity are being prepared. The group of Soviet pilgrims coming to the Holy Land for Christmas opened the Millennium celebrations in Jerusalem.
We are here to celebrate our millennium, the millennium celebrations which will also begin soon in Russia.
A unique conference at the Red Church Mission in Jerusalem, discussing theological aspects of the Christian millennium in Russia. Among the participants are Israeli historians, most of them recent immigrants from the Soviet Union. The priests do not hesitate to meet with people who were once denied Soviet exit visas, such as Dr. Igorsky and Professor Zahn. Thus, the Soviet government, through the church mission, indicates that immigration to Israel is no longer an unforgivable crime.
We have the great honor of launching the anniversary celebrations in the Holy Land. In the atmosphere of spiritual enthusiasm, the Russian Orthodox Christians are getting ready for their millennium celebrations. The Christians stand behind the perestroika. The Russian Orthodox Church is ready to fulfill its part in saving mankind. This is the first meeting in the history of the Russian Orthodox Church at which relations between Jews and Orthodox Christians are being discussed, and at which both Jews and Orthodox Christians are taking part, and in Jerusalem. I think this is the most important fact today. Two facts, to be precise. We Jews who came from the Soviet Union are here at the invitation of the Russian Orthodox mission. The fact that there were hostilities in the past does not mean it will be that way forever. Their desire to come closer and create a dialogue between the Russian Orthodox Church and Judaism is something entirely new.
Разрешите в конце поблагодарить вас и выразить не только благодарность, но и надежду на то, что
I would like to say in Russian not only thank you, but also to express the hope that this meeting will be the beginning of a dialogue between the Russian Orthodox Church and the Jews, and that this dialogue will grow. You have illuminated the points which unite us and have helped us fight the evil human will.
And in which we together could fight for
the evil human will.
For the evil will, human will.
As we have seen it manifest itself in some known hostile acts.
If we listen carefully, it seems that the dialogue here between Christianity and Judaism is not the only issue. The real issue is a growing dialogue between the Soviet Union and the State of Israel.
What I see in this meeting is the Soviet Union's obvious interest in creating a dialogue with Israel.
If chances exist for the Soviet Union to open dialogue with Israel, is it too much to expect that the two Russian churches might begin talking?
We went to the monastery on the Mount of Olives. We met the head of the White Church Mission, Father Vladimir. He showed us the church. We visited the Church of the Holy Maria Magdalena. Things like that did not happen in the past. Something is beginning. I think with time we will find a solution for mutual understanding.
The nuns of the White Church have many doubts.
I think there must be a 180-degree change in Russia in order for any kind of unity to emerge. We love making the candles ourselves, just like in the old days.
And perhaps, as in the old days, now in the new era of perestroika, a united Russian Orthodox Church will arise.